So I met Justin through a mutual friend, and I had no idea it was a setup when I met him.
It was kind of a blind date, and I was, single at the time, and I was like, hey, you got any cute friends? And she was like, yeah, I have a perfect friend for you. And she was like, and she's got a good personality. I was like, well, we all know what that means when
So I'm just in my regular work clothes. We head out to Burma Superstar, and we meet up with them, and in walks Justin. And that's how we met.
But then I showed up, met her at Burma Superstar, and I was amazed. She was definitely a friend with that good personality, but good looking too.
And so, we met, and he was just amazing. Like, he was just really affable, social, really down to earth and low key and chill. And, that's the beginning.
My first impression was she was definitely out of my league. And not to be all clammy and not get nervous, but I thought she was beautiful. And I'll never forget the restaurant that I saw her at, Burma Superstar, with the sunlight in the background, her in the window, and she was like a model. I was shocked that she actually only worked for the county.
I mean, he was just so unassuming. When I first met him, I actually was asking myself, like, how old is he? He had his hat turned back, and it's past his child's bedtime. He was racially ambiguous, like El DeBarge. I'm like, what is he?
Funny story, I gave her my business card after the first date. I work for PG&E. And I told her, if you ever have any problems, let me know. But she called me back like 2 nights later, and she was like, hey, my power's out. Which is pretty often with PG&E sometimes. And so I looked her up in the PG&E system and was like, oh, your power's gonna be out for a while. Why don't you let me take you out to dinner tonight? I promise her power, where she lived is a really bad circuit. So I promise I'd have nothing to do with it. A lot of trees in the lines over in that area.
So he proposed to me the day of my birthday. So that was October 9th, which is just 6 days after his birthday. And it was super low key. I can't even believe that he kept it silent because he can't hold water.
And the story behind it was all my guy friends were like, don't do it. It's the stupidest thing to ever propose on a birthday. What are you gonna say? Happy birthday, you get to marry me. But then I talked to a lot of my female friends, and they were like, are you kidding? Absolutely do it.
I woke up that morning, he was like, hey, let me just make you your favorite breakfast in bed, which is grits and eggs, just to document that. And he's like, oh, is there anything that you want to do today? I have to do a little bit of work. And I said, no. He's like, well, let's go take a walk by Point Pinole, which is like our favorite place here. And I was like, okay, let's do that. But I was just chilling. He went to go work for several hours, so I thought he kind of forgot about me. And then in our sweats, our house outfit, we just come to Point Pinole, and we're walking along the water, and we get to this part where we both have our favorite trails, and I'm like, oh, well, this is my day, so I want to do the one that's slightly more rigorous, right? Not the scenic one. And he said, okay. And so we're just going up the hill, and I zone out, and because I do that a lot, and I realize that I left him behind because he's not walking near me. And so I turn around, and he's like a yard away, and his little butt is just kneeling, And I'm like, what's going on? And then he starts talking, but I can't really hear him, so I try to sidle up a little bit closer, but in my mind I knew what he was doing, so I was like a little cautious. So I was like circling him like an animal, just getting closer and closer and closer, like, Then he pulls out this like box, and I'm like, please don't do this. Don't be the person that has a box that's on their knees, but it's like earrings, right? So I'm just getting closer just to make sure he's doing what I think he's doing. And then he's like, Mari, something like, I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? And I had this 5-second gap where I know I didn't say anything because my mind was thinking about, well, who's gonna record this moment? Like, should I pull my phone out? Is that rude? Is that weird? But I was just shocked. And he's like, well, this is a contract. Like, you have to say something. And so I was just like, yes. And I screamed, and it was just beautiful. And then we just ditched the whole hike because we were making plans about sizing my wedding ring.
She just grounds me a lot. She's a very spiritual person. She's very much a calming presence. It can get hectic for me at work sometimes. And I always try to leave everything at the front door when I walk in the house, and she's just always there with a smile. And even I know when she's had tough days, she still always makes that time for me to just listen to me. She's my best friend, very much.
What I love about Justin is that he's so lively and warm and affable. There's not a person who's going to dislike him, and he's a chameleon. He's able to blend into different environments, and I like that. That makes me feel confident when I'm with him, that we can go anywhere, and that he's going to be able to adapt. He's selfless and caring, and he always puts me first. Like, you know, always making sure I'm on the inner part of the sidewalk when we're walking and constantly attuned to my needs. I honestly feel like he knows me more than I know myself because he recognizes all my quirks. He's my best friend. He's just so easygoing, and everything that's beautiful and positive about anyone that you could possibly say is him.
She hates, and I love doing this to tease her, and I probably will do it for the rest of our life. And she hates it, but she hates you rubbing her feet. And I'm a very affectionate person. I could touch every other part of her body, but except her feet. And so at night, when she's all snuggled up and she's in her perfect position, I rub my claws right up against her feet. There's just boundaries.
And
she's just look on her face like, oh. Like you can just feel her stomach swallow her stomach.
I knew he was the one because of probably our age, where I was at life, the fact that I was open, the fact that he was just everything that I could possibly think of that I would want in the future husband. And he was there when I went through major surgery, and he saw me at like, my worst, and he took off, and he was there the whole time and then took care of me, you know, like for 3 weeks. So it just organically turned into this long-term relationship, and every week, month felt like the beginning, like it was new. And then I looked up and I'm like, oh my God, 3 years. And this is what I always hear people talking about. Like they just make it this long, and it just felt so natural. So he's my best friend.